All right, welcome everybody. This is Don Giannetti, and I'm the editor-writer for Lighting Essentials. It's a website for emerging talented commercial photographers. It's not wedding and baby focused, it's really commercial focused. And we do a lot of things at Lighting Essentials. I have a couple of programs that I've run over the years. One has become quite infamous, I guess, called Project 52. Lots of imitations. There's only really one, Project 52, where we emulate a real photography assignment role. In other words, we give out real assignments taken from real assignments, and the photographers learn how to do everything from shoot them to bid them to deliver them, how to shoot to layout, how to deliver images professionally and everything. It is a real uh, professional look at being a photographer. I also do something called the 8-week portrait class, where we look at the portrait work of some of the great portrait photographers of our time. I think it's important to know what other photographers have done. I think it's important to study them to see what they did and how it may relate to what we do. Now, that doesn't mean that we copy them. It means that we get inspired by them. My degree is in music theory and composition, and of course, I had to listen to music from Bach to Stravinsky. And I don't write music like any of those people, but we studied all of it because everything led to the next. And in photography, we only go back about 150 years. So some of the great practitioners of our art are um, of our modern times. Some of them may not be with us anymore, Karsh and a few others, but still their influence is timeless on photography. So we took 8 photographers and created a class around them, and we study each photographer for a week, and then spend a week shooting it. So we do it in 9 weeks. There's a welcome class, then there's 8 weeks of shooting and critique. You always have 2 weeks to do the image, but you're given an image every week. So essentially, you're shooting once a week. It's an intensive look into portraiture, and I've got a couple of folks who've taken the class with me tonight, and I'd like for them to chat a little bit about what their experience was and how they liked the class and what they took from it. So I'm going to start out with our first photographer up is Barbara Brady Smith, and Barbara is here with us. Hi, Barbara. How are you? Are you there?
Now I'm unmuted.
There you
I'm
go.
here.
How are you?
I'm awesome. I miss you guys. Glad to be back communicating.
Fantastic. Well, I remember that you're a portrait shooter and a pet shooter, right?
Yes, 99% pets.
99% pets. Um, you really got some great shots during the class, taking all the stylized ideas from 8 famous portrait photographers and applying them to pet photography. That was really fun.
And I think what not only applying it to pet photography, but opening my eyes to what I can do with capturing imagery of people too. The very first image that I shared is my daughter, who, needless to say, I've been photographing for 28 years. But this is the first time I've ever captured what I believe to be her essence, which is her joyful way of looking at life. This is inspired by Karsh lighting, and it just says joy to me. And when I saw it on the back of my camera, I got all choked up. And of course, my daughter's like, "Oh, mom, whatever." And then she saw it, and she did too. And it opened my eyes to magic. To be honest, it just was a wonderful experience.
The
So
power
I
of
approached each
full body.
assignment pretty much with people, and then utilized that knowledge with the pet portraiture that I do. And this next one is an example of lighting inspired by Scribnesky. picture Diana Ross there looking up. Um, but I never ever could have imagined taking a portrait like this of a dog, ever. My lighting had gone pretty much into a little bit of a rut. It was looking the same. I needed inspiration, and my inspiration book at home was full of pet portraits, and my inspiration book now is full of people portraits. It's full of things that inspire me that are then inspiring me to become a better pet photographer, and that would not have happened without this class.
Let me ask you about your clients. How are the clients that you are working with? Are you using some of these techniques on client work?
All the time. And the wonderful thing about my clients, not only are they willing to pay a lot, but they are very open to my suggestions for what would look good for their dog. And they're also very, very open for me to experiment. And I'll finish a portrait session and I'll say, okay, I'm going to change my lighting. This is going to be something that I want to do for me. And they're like, sure, whatever, go. And they love it, and I love it. And it's putting a little more pizzazz into what I do, and a little more of my energies coming into the sessions now too. So definitely appreciated by clients.
Fantastic. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is Katherine out there? Yes, she is. Hi,
Hi,
Katherine. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Dawn?
Very good. We have this beautiful portrait, and in your 8-week class, you use the same model for all the different inspirations, right?
I did. Only 1 week, the Karsh week, I used a different set of models, a male and female, but Melissa was with me the whole time, and she's going to be back with me for the Portrait 102 class, too.
Wonderful.
And it was wonderful developing the relationship working together. We both brought a lot to it. She studied the photographers also and to try to get a sense of their style and the way they maybe dressed and the kind of things that they would photograph and she tried to bring that to it when she came. So that was wonderful.
And who inspired this photograph?
This is William Coupon. And I loved just the very simple lighting that he used and the backdrops. And I just I just found that the closer I got the lighting, and it really this class just really forced me to step out of my box, to getting closer, to get the lighting right up there, and to turn the lighting way down, and just sort of really play with the edges of things in ways that I've never done before. So that was really great.
Wonderful. Let's take a look at the second portrait. I love this portrait.
I love this one too, and this was from our first class, Krivneski, and I haven't done it since, but I'm going to be doing a lot more of it because I really sort of love the light on this, the overhead lighting. It was just something I never even thought of doing. And that's what I loved about this course, is it just kept pushing us to do these things that we'd never even considered, and
Well,
adds a bunch of crayons to the box of colors.
that's the idea. That is the
Yeah.
idea. Crayons, fill that toolbox full of tools.
Yep.
It's one of those great.
And I used it when I was at the beach last week at another portrait shoot I did. I used some of the Herb Ritz style stuff, and that was great. That was a professional shoot.
And all of this, you still
So that
bring.
was
I mean, these are still Catherine Vibrant photographs. You're not trying to channel Herb Ritz or um, those folks. You're taking the parts that you like and you're blending them in with your own style.
exactly. Just you're starting to get a control of light the way you never have before, and
Yeah,
being really comfortable with light.
absolutely. Wonderful. Well, look at this page of portraits. Holy crap. Wow. Irene Labler.
Hello, Don.
Hi, how are you? Irene comes from
Great. How are you?
great out in Connecticut, where she's started her own business with her partner Sandy. And how are things going?
Really busy. Yeah, great.
How
As a
long
matter of fact, tomorrow we're going on another shoot for half a day.
do you remember the very first shoot that you did with I think it was a florist?
Oh yeah,
And that was like not that long ago.
uh, it had to be a couple of years ago, it
You think it was
seems.
more than 2 years? I don't think it was more than 2 years ago. I think,
No, probably not.
yeah. And you've
Yeah,
developed, into a busy photographer.
yeah. And that was for an art director who we're still working with. So they keep calling us back.
That's always good.
Yep. We're
And
doing something right.
so you're busy doing commercial work, and I take it you didn't get the memo that commercial photography was dead.
I must have missed that memo.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing. Otherwise, you might
Yeah.
leave it. And trust me, folks, it's not dead. It's still alive and kicking. Look at this beautiful portrait. Tell us a little bit about this one.
This is inspired by Dan Winters, and it's my friend's daughter Rachel. And I remember with this photographer that we were studying, it was the black cards that I learned about. And I would have never thought to use black cards in that way to control the lighting. And I've actually used this technique recently with another portrait. So what I love about it is that I'm thinking about these photographers now as I'm shooting. And the ones that stand out are sort of a few of my favorites, like Dan Winters and William Coupon and Sarah Moon.
Do you find yourself thinking along, my brain works like a big filing cabinet. As I'm looking at something, it just starts pulling out images in my head. And the images that I see in my head don't look anything like what I'm shooting. They just, like I say, inspire me. They move
Right.
in different directions and make me think about something else.
Right. Well, what I like about it now is that if someone asks for a headshot or a portrait, I say, well, we can do one like this or one like this, and I show them samples. And I know that I can pull out my notes and recreate that kind of look depending on what they want or what I think that they should have.
Wonderful.
So it's like a repertoire, I suppose.
Yes, it is. That's great. The great way of saying it. Yes. Who is this gentleman?
Oh, that's my neighbor's son, Justin. And this one was done in the style of David Bailey, but it looks a lot like Herb Ritz, too, just the white, the stark white.
Mm-hmm. No, Bailey.
And he really loved it.
Yep. Get those people on pure whites. So nothing but the person shows through. Bailey
Yep.
in our 102 class, our second class.
Right.
Really nice, Irene. Thank you very much. Say hi to Sandy.
I will. Thank you, Don.
You got it. Virginia. Did Virginia get you? She did. Hi, Virginia. How are you, my dear?
I'm here. Oh, I'm doing well, thank you.
Great. This is such a pretty portrait.
That was the very first class. I mean, from the very beginning, I was blown away about how much I could learn by studying these photographers and portraiture, and it's when it really hit me that it's portraits that I need to be concentrating on.
Wonderful. Who is
So
this?
they were both
This is your grandson?
that yes. And not only playing around with portraits, but there's a lot that I can do. So with my grandson, I always have played with Photoshop, but I try to think of ways to do it. I mean, it's not the same because there's a lot of those fine art, like what Irene does and what Brooke Shaden does, and that's pretty, but it's not my style.
Mhm.
So
This is I don't remember the galaxy the first time I saw this shot, so you've added that since.
Yes.
Yeah, really special photograph, Virginia.
So I've been showing some of these. In fact, I didn't have a portfolio ready for the portfolio reviews at the Palm Springs Photo Festival, but I showed some of this kind of thing and then some of the portrait projects I have in mind. And it, I think the confidence that I got from the portrait class, honing what I want to do and what I want to accomplish,
Hmm.
um, made a difference so that when I had the opportunity to talk to art directors and magazine editors, it was attractive to them. I think the confidence at presenting my projects, the projects are unique where now I have meetings. I have
Hmm.
meetings with Frank Mayo, who's the photo closer. I have meetings with the editor of American Photo magazine, um, and another art director, all from, because as a result of this portrait class.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is a lovely portrait. Who is this?
My makeup artist.
Ah,
She was modeling for my gluten-free portrait project, but I also wanted to give her something nice for her portfolio, to show her hair and makeup, and also for her, because if I'm trying to do that for a client, I want to be able to do that for the makeup artist, and she's like my best advertisement.
we can see Skrebneski a little in this. Obviously, the famous shot of Orson Welles, a little bit of that. But which photographer inspired this one?
I can't see your screen, so I sent you.
Oh, you can't see
Is
my
that the
screen?
one where she's reclining,
Yes,
right?
yes.
That's Skrebneski's Estee Lauder campaign.
Ah, okay. Wonderful. Beautiful. Just lovely. Jay Chatstel. Jay is a not here. What happened to Jay? Did he drop off? We will come back to Jay. Jay is a local photographer here. If you're viewing this at work, understand that maybe a little not safe for work shot coming up, so be prepared for that. It's a lovely shot, so it shouldn't offend anybody, but sometimes people get weird. Another shot from Jay. Is Jay back? Jay, where did you go, my friend? He was here. Now he's gone. Ron Vell. Ron, you're in New York. Or Bob. I'm sorry. This is Bob Earl.
Hey
Sorry.
Don, how are you?
Good,
Oh,
Bob. Sorry about
Yes,
that.
correct. How are you tonight?
Very good.
No problem. So, my biggest takeaway from the class, I would say, would be time management for me. The pressure of getting it all done in a week was great for me, and I really enjoyed that. Studying the new photographer, planning the shoot, securing the subject, maybe dealing with some weather, then post-production and getting it to you in time. And then one of the greatest things is the critiques. Not just the critique of my photo itself, but learning from the 20 other photos that you're critiquing. And those were big things for me.
I'm glad. I'm glad. This is Herb Ritz.
That's correct, yes. Yeah. And it's funny, I have a file of photos like so many other people do that I've snagged off the computer from one place or another, and you don't always know who the photographer is. And I had several of Herb Ritz and Jean-Luc Sief's in that file, so when I got to study the photographer, it was really a great joy to go, oh my gosh, I have his
I
photos
don't
already.
know that shot.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Isn't it interesting that sometimes some of these shots just stick with you? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
we see some of the work by Ritz or David Bailey or something, and they're just so amazing. They stick with us. We see it, the same shot 10 years from now, and we go, oh, I know that shot.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, when you're looking at you're shooting something, you have a different picture in your head, and
Hmm.
sometimes it is those from the file.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Tell us about this shot.
This was Skrybneski. This was one of the first. This was the first one,
Hmm.
and I really loved his lighting. The simplicity of it, but the intensity of it. and I stylized it and made it my own, and I cropped it a little differently, and I was really happy. I really enjoy Scribnesky, and I'll definitely go back to shooting his style of lighting.
Had you ever shot any? I think you've probably shot like Ritz before.
Yes, I've done that before. Yeah.
Have you ever shot like Skrebneski before?
No, I had not, and that was really, I was really excited the outcome of what I got from his style of lighting.
And I should say to the viewers, sometimes it's not just lighting that we're learning about in this class. It's how they approach the photograph, which is so important. The difference in shooting style between, say, a Peter Lindbergh and a Herb Ritz and a Skrebneski or a Dan Winters is huge. Not lighting, how they approach the photograph, how they
So true.
approach using the camera, right?
Well, I think one thing is, in studying Dan Winters, of the photographers that we'd studied, he wasn't my favorite by any means, but man, I spent the most time studying how he did things. I got really caught up in reading so much about that guy, and I'm really glad that I did.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Let's see if Jay got back on. No, he did not. Let's go on to, this is Ron. Hi, Ron.
Hey there. Hey
How's
Don, how are you? Oh, the baby's growing.
that?
Growing and screaming.
That's great. Tell us a little bit about this photograph. This is your wife.
Right, right. This photograph was inspired by Skrupneski. I used deep umbrella, 42 inches, and with a silver lining inside, and a flash unit plus the pop-up light from my camera. She was wearing a black sweater, black turtleneck, and it was really amazing for me to see how simple it was to do in a way, but it's something that I wouldn't have been able to do if I didn't have your guidance. If you didn't tell us how to do things.
It's the guidance of the masters. I mean, Skrebneski learned from somebody else,
Right,
and
right,
I think that's the fantastic part of the journey is finding out how everybody thinks. I really like this portrait and your processing on it, very film-like, um,
right.
which I think was also probably a little inspired by the photographer we were viewing.
Yeah, on all the shots that I did, even though I didn't agree very much with their styles, I tried to study them as much as possible and just replicate their lighting techniques because it's all about lighting.
Mm-hmm.
And I just learned so much, and I got all the confidence that I didn't have on portrait photography before. I was good doing landscape photography and street photography, but never really like portraits on studio. And I just gained so much confidence by understanding the light and just doing it. And I have like a group of people that are like so positive and it's really a good way to measure where your skills are.
Yes, it is.
Uh,
Yes, it is. And this is,
yeah.
well, it says right here, Peter Lindbergh inspired.
Yeah, so this was inspired on the work of Peter Lindbergh, one of his campaigns for David Yurman jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's just the way he uses flags and the lights is just amazing, and I always admire his work, but I just didn't know who the photographer was.
Ah,
And right, right. As you're driving from New Jersey to New York, you're about to get into the Lincoln Tunnel, and you always see these big billboards for David Yurman, and I always, kept on looking at them, and there it was. It was Peter Lindbergh.
Amazing how a good photograph can compel you to look at it.
Absolutely,
It,
absolutely.
it doesn't matter if it's a billboard or a 4x6 on a wall. If it's a strong photograph, you're drawn to it. And that's why the advertising agencies will pay Peter Lindbergh the bucks that he gets, which are a lot, because he can make a photograph that you can see from your car going into the Lincoln Tunnel, and yet you'll always stop and look at that photograph. You'll always
Exactly.
eye. Where I'm sure there are other billboards around the Lincoln Tunnel that you couldn't tell me what's on them.
Not really.
Yep.
Not really.
The power of
Yeah,
excellent
yeah.
shot.
Thank you.
And you used your wife the entire as well.
Yes, yes. She was my
Wow.
model. She was the one pushing to do every shoot every week, because we actually did this on 8 weeks.
Yes.
So I did actually like to have an assignment per week, and
Keeps you
I think it kept me going. It just kept me going. Sometimes you lose continuity when there's more than a week to complete the assignment. But overall, I mean, I just love the class.
wonderful. Glad you were here.
Thanks.
I'm sure I'll see a lot of your work soon too.
Well, from your mouth to God's
Up
ears.
on a billboard going into the Lincoln Tunnel, or even the Holland Tunnel. It doesn't matter. Some tunnel.
As long as it's not the carpal tunnel, it's okay.
That's right. That's Marianne Cherry, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Don?
Very good. What a pretty portrait.
Well, thank you. This was one of the first ones I was really, really pleased with. It was the week for Karsh, and my model, who had she really knocked it out this week, because she had her eyelashes on, she had her hair done, and everything. We had a lot of fun with this. She was a great collaborator during the portrait session, and I think the one thing I got out of it was a tremendous amount of confidence, because I'm the newbie on the block here, and working with all these people, I'm really totally I'm not intimidated. That was the nice thing, is even though I'm really new to this and there's a lot of things I don't know, I've been studying like mad, drinking out of the fire hose. Everybody's been really supportive. You've been terrific, and that's really increased my confidence. And I may have a clue about what I'm doing.
That the people that seem to surround the things that I do are so exceptional. We've never had a troll. We've never had to kick somebody out. We've never had a smart mouth, know-it-all or anything. Everybody just seems extremely helpful, and it's just I love it. It's one of my favorite places to go is to go up to the Facebook page and just see what everybody's doing and how everybody else is jumping in and helping and encouraging, and it's really fun. It really is. So, what was your experience before you taking the portrait class?
Well, I've been photographing dogs and cats and occasionally a person, but not really doing a whole lot of portrait work. And I had just gotten my studio lighting. I use the Einsteins. I've got a couple Einsteins and a B, and I'm becoming a modifier junkie. But
It's a disease.
it is. And I just got back from Texas school, which is another school, but I've been not bragging, but really talking this class up, because I've just learned so much about lighting and all these different styles. Like this one, it took a while to set it up, and I had to get my reflectors, because this is a beach lighting thing that you gave us. That was what was so great, is you actually gave us a recipe to kind of get started. and how to set up the lights and how to meter them and do this. And it was like, okay, I'm kind of getting a clue now. And granted, I may not be able, since with some dogs may be up for this and cats, I don't know about that one, but for being able to photograph beautiful images of people with their pets is kind of my goal, and this is really helping me to get there very quickly and learning, a bit of posing and lighting and how to light older people. It's been great for that.
Excellent. Thank you, Marianne. Jay Chatskill is here. Hi, Jay. I knew you.
Hi, Don. How are you?
Good. This is one of your portraits. Jay is a fellow Phoenician,
Right.
Phoenix area anyway. He lives up in Carefree, where all the tax dodgers live. Tell us about this shot.
This is a colleague of mine that I've known for several years. He's a fairly a bunch of different things he's been in and out of. He was a military. I know him from being in astrophotography, and he's also a painter. So he has this sort of image of himself as kind of a free spirit, but he has a lot of skills too. So I asked him to be a model, and he came over with this whole stack of stuff, hats and jackets and all kinds of things. So he was really up into it. And this is one of his berets, which he likes a lot. And this was a
Skrybnetsky.
This is Skrybnetsky, which was the first project that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked very well. It was a one light project, but the light coming down and still having some reflection coming back. And it matched him. It's got some really lovely shadow on the left side of his face, and it was a very good way to start out the Portrait Project 101. He was a good subject. There was pretty clear about how to go about the lighting on it, and I too had just gotten the new Einstein, I think at that time. So my lighting capabilities had increased, and so all in all, it was a very good start.
Great. And this
This is a young woman who is, I guess she's 16, and this was the moon shot and the moon project.
Sarah Moon.
And Sarah Moon, and it was interesting. One, we tried, as much of it is the technique of the camera and the lighting and so forth. In this case, it's just getting her loosened up, and she's not she's kind of an introspective person, and this, we got her to loosen up and fool around, and we had her mother with a white card, flapping it around so that it blew up her hair a little bit, and she was shaking her head. And her mother said she rarely smiles, so she was delighted with this shot. She really thought it was great, and I think Ashley is her name, and she really enjoyed it as well. So I think, and then putting it into the moon. Sepia with the running off the border, I think it just gave it a different life. So I was very pleased with this. I really enjoy this. It's kind of a fun shot, but it really captured her when she's actually enjoying herself, and I think and everything about it was kind of freeing up the scarf, just the ability to move freely.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Next up is my buddy Hyam. Hello, Hyam.
Hey, Don.
How are you?
Good. Sitting in a hotel room.
Where are you?
I am in Evansville, Indiana, the heartland of America.
The last time I chatted with you in a hotel room, you were in Amsterdam or somewhere cool, and now you're in Evansville, Indiana.
This place is very cool. I'm
Okay.
about 100 feet away from Route 66. How's
Oh,
that?
cool. Then I've been there because I traveled Route 66. I traveled the whole Route 66 when I was 18 years old. So I must have
You
been
know, and I don't think I've ever been on Route 66, so this is exciting for me.
fantastic. So Hiram is a photographer in Santa Cruz and has been on Project 52. And I should mention that Irene and Ivan and Katherine and Virginia and Ron and a bunch of folks have been on Project 52 as well as the portrait class. But Hiram is in Santa Cruz where they have just terrible, terrible weather. And, it just sucks having to live right next to the ocean like that, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, no, I hate it.
Seagulls all the time. If you want to trade how
Hiram's a glamour god.
absolutely. So tell us a little bit about this. This is interesting. We did a ninth photographer just for grins. I threw in a bonus photographer, and Hiram took right to her big time.
Yep. Yeah, I did. You know, this is right up my alley. I love the work that Ellen von Unwerth does, and just lucky enough to know a model that fits the bill, right? And was very, very excited to do the shoot with me. And as we planned it, you know, both the model and I were very excited about doing it. And then when we finally did it this past weekend, we just had a ball. It was just really, everything really fell into place. And we're able to, you know, get some nice images out of it.
Ellen von Unwerth, what a career she's had. Wow. Um, Top model, then jumps over and becomes a top photographer. That's cool. Amazing photographer. Let's look at this next shot. Tell us a little bit about this next shot.
Yeah, so basically we were aiming for that look. You know, when I look at Von Unwerth's work, it's very characteristic. You know, very feminine, very the models that are engage the camera, and the lighting is bold. Everything about the work that Von Unwerth does, in the way that I see it, it's portrays that same forward, very bold look to the models, and then the models seem to enjoy what they're doing, which is uh, away from what I see a lot of the kind of the run, a lot of the fashion. All the models are looking very serious and detached and with weird poses, whereas Von Unwerth's work, it's all about being in that moment, you know, engaging the camera very forward, and I really like that.
Wonderful. It's very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Her ladies are her models are engaged with life. They're approachable. Their hair is a little messy. It's a little wild. The wind is blowing. They're having fun. They look real. They're not, even though they may be wearing, you know, a pair of shoes that cost $4,000 and a skirt that was $6,000. They may be wearing haute couture. They look like they're just out having fun. They're just out being themselves. They don't have that sort of haute couture, you know, uh, every hair in place, you know, kind of look to them. And
Yep.
yeah, really fun. I kind of knew you'd like her work.
Yeah, no, really enjoy it. I'm gonna do, you know, a lot of it. Moving forward, I'm gonna suggest that we do this type of work with, you know, with models as I work with them for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you. One of the things I wanted to ask the group before we get out of here is how did you see your work change as you did this workshop? One of the things that some of the people were saying was that by the time they got to the halfway through the workshop, they were getting the shots in camera far more than having to Photoshop them outside to get the look they wanted. They were getting them in camera. Did that happen to anybody here?
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's
Every
And I
time.
think
I'd
a
agree with
couple of
that
mine
too.
might be stuck in your email,
yeah. Who is that? Ivan?
Ivan.
Yeah, I can't pop over there and get them right now, Ivan. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I think is a part of the process of finding uh, inspiration in a photographer and thinking through your photograph. And when we are studying another photographer's work, we do tend to think through our photographs. We think about the lighting, we think about the style, we think about what we're trying to say with the photograph, and that in and of itself creates a powerful um, creative force and deliberate. When you're deliberately shooting something, a William Coupon inspired image, or Skrubneski, or Karsh, Ellen von Unworth, Sarah Moon, when you're deliberately doing that, you're thinking lighting, composition, pose, all of that. And I just think it's an excellent way to work. Well, thank you everybody for coming on, folks. We do have some workshops listed. Click here if you're interested in taking the portrait workshop.